board would now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Troop, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Triplett, Alderwoman Young, Alderman Conway, Alderman Ortman, Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Villa, Alderman Arnowitz, Alderman Wessels, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Florida, Alderwoman Behringer, Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Kennedy, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Schmid, Alderman French, Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Ogilvie, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, President Reed,
Here.
Alderman Troop, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderwoman Triplett, Alderwoman Young, Alderman Ortman, Alderman Arnowitz, Alderman Wessels, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Florida, Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Kennedy, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Schmid, Alderman French, Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro, I got Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Ogilvie, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, 16 present.
Quorum being present, we will be led today in prayer by Reverend John Watson from Maple Temple.
Let us pray. In him we live and move and have our beings. Gracious God, Heavenly Father, we first give thanks for the privilege to petition you through prayer. Then, gracious God, who is the life of our spirit, the law of our minds, and the love in our hearts, with simple trust we draw near to you, opening our lives to your renewing presence. Strengthen us with might by your Spirit in the inner being, that we may work together to find the most fair, balanced solutions that produce the most effective and helpful outcomes. So bless us with the wisdom and energy to seek your will and work together to fulfill it. And help us, Lord, to live it daily with each other. Into your keeping we commit our families, our communities, and our city at large. Keep us steady, make us confident, and give us the courage to face each day with a firm trust in you. In Jesus' name, amen.
We'll suspend with our regular order of business, take up our courtesy resolution calendar. I move for adoption of our courtesy resolution calendar. Entertain a second on motion, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Alderman from the 8th, I know he had just walked out. Oh, Alderman from the 8th, would like to approach the dais for resolution number 334.
Yeah, I'll call them up. Morning, Mr. President, members of the board. I know that many of you were inconvenienced this morning with the 18,000 wrestling fans coming to St. Louis today and this weekend. This is about the 6th time St. Louis has had the NCAA championship. But this year, there was a local person that President Reed knows very well that has been selected to be one of the Grand March participants. And I'd appreciate your unanimous consent in a few moments on a resolution to Coach Larry Kristoff. Coach, come on up. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Coach Kristoff. You stand here with us. Whereas Coach Larry Kristoff has been elected as the distinguished member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum, and whereas Larry is a 5-time world medalist and a 2-time Olympian. Larry was one of the greatest heavyweight wrestlers in American history, with dominant performances on national and international levels. And whereas he's won 5 world medals for the United States, capturing silver medals in 1966, 69, and 79, and bronze medals in 1965 and 67. And whereas Larry competed on 2 U.S. Olympic teams, he placed 7th at the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo and 5th at the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City. And whereas he's won a total of 12 senior-level national titles, winning the AAU Nationals in freestyle 6 times, the U.S. Wrestling Federation Nationals in freestyles 3 times. And whereas, as a collegiate wrestler, Larry was a 2-time NCAA Division II national champion and placed 2nd in the NCAA Division National Championships. And whereas for 30 years, Coach Kristoff was the head coach for Division II powerhouse SIEU Edwardsville. He led the Cougars to 3 consecutive NCAA Division national titles, 1984 to 1986. And whereas he coached 12 wrestlers to a total of 18 NCAA Division II national titles, and his wrestlers became Division I All-Americans 11 times. And whereas Coach Kristoff and his wife Doris live in Anna, Illinois, Coach Kristoff is an associate professor at SIUE, as well as the wrestling coach. Now, therefore, it be it resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause in our deliberations to recognize Coach Kristoff for his many contributions to the wrestling community in St. Louis. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you very much. Just one quick word. I'm the old generation, and then my son was 2nd generation, my grandson's 3rd generation. Kip was a national champion, 4-time All-American for me at SIU Edwardsville. He was the first freshman in Illinois State Wrestling Championship to win the state championship as a freshman. He was the first one to ever do that in 144 years. Now Maxwell, he's 10, and he's a wrestler. He just started wrestling this year. He won the districts and sectionals, and he's going to the state tournament this afternoon up in Danville, Illinois. So it's a wrestling family, been that way. And I have another son that's not here. He was also a national champion, 4-time All-American and a state champion. So we come from wrestling backgrounds. And I retired in 2000, and I try to get back here every time it's here in St. Louis. I've been trying to make this a permanent site. Everybody here at this wrestling tournament right now likes this place better than any other place they've been at. And if you just talk to them, they'll be the first to tell you that. You've got the best facilities, you got that transportation, you got the airport, you got entertainment. There isn't a bad seat in the Scott Trade Center. It's a great place to have it. And I would like to see it be a permanent site, or at least 5 years in a row site here in St. Louis. So we're working on that to try to bring that thing here. And as if you've noticed, everywhere you go, there's 18,000 people wandering around here, staying in motels, eating in restaurants. And I was at the mall right down here, Union Station, and yesterday tried to get a bite to eat. It was filled with people. All right, so just thank you for this award, and we're going to go over and watch the tournament. Thank you.
And it is an honor and pleasure for me to introduce a good friend of mine that wrestled with me in college. He was a 2-time national champ for John Carroll University. I have a lot of friends in town, but Jojo Bertoloni, he's a 2-time national heavyweight champ, Coach. And then there's one other wrestler besides me here today, and that's President Reed. And I was actually hoping that Coach Kristoff, his coach in college, would say a couple words about how good Lewis was on his takedowns. So, but I think President Reed has a couple of words to say.
I tell you, I really appreciate the aldermen from the 8th thinking about doing this today because, you know, a lot of times you get busy on a lot of stuff and you miss some of these things. And this is an important moment. I know it's an important moment for me because this guy standing behind me, Larry Kristoff, had it not been for him hounding my mother and coming down to Joliet and driving down to Joliet and saying, no, I want you to come here to SIUE and wrestle here, and making sure that we did the right things, my life would have been much different because this guy is an amazing guy. He is deeply committed to the kids that he coaches, and he brings us all in and makes sure that we are a family and we work together and we continue to do the right thing. And he really did a good job of instilling all those values in me and the other wrestlers that wrestled for him. Kip was my roommate when we were at SIUE, and for a couple years after we had left SIUE, Kip was my roommate. So I tell you what, one of the smoothest wrestlers I ever seen on the mat. This guy was just absolutely amazing. Him and his brother Mark were just great wrestlers. So Kip, congratulations on your son. My son Max is here. He's a wrestler also. But also, Larry, you know, this resolution is the highest honor that the Board of Aldermen has to give. And when we pass these things out, they become part of the permanent records of the city of St. Louis. So 100, 200 years from now, people will be able to research the records of the city of St. Louis, and they'll find Larry Kristoff's name amongst those records and hear about some of your many contributions to the sport of wrestling. So I am so honored as a former wrestler of yours and as a guy that has benefited from your hard work and determination. By the way, Larry could have been a professional football player. He was drafted, decided to wrestle, and that shows you the commitment that he has to the sport. So Larry, again, on behalf of the Board of Aldermen, the city of St. Louis, my family and friends, and everybody in the surrounding region, we are indeed honored to have you here today and wish you much luck in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, bud. Thank you, Lewis. See you out there, buddy.
Larry loves wrestling, so Larry said, I got to get to the wrestling meet. Alderman from the 6th, would you like to approach the dais on resolution number 330?
Mr. President and members of the board, I would like to ask that Committeewoman Ollie Stewart and the recipient of this resolution, Mr. Josh Beeks and his family, along with the other participants of Southside Wellness Center, also come and join us on the dais. And as they are making their way to the dais, it is my pleasure to present this resolution on behalf of President of the Board of Aldermen, Lewis Reed, to commend a wonderful city employee who has done great work in our community and is now retiring. I will read just a bit of information about this wonderful individual who goes by the name of Mr. Josh Beeks. Whereas Josh Beeks, after 23 years, is retiring from the St. Louis City Recreation Department. And whereas Mr. Beeks is a valued employee of the St. Louis Recreation Department, which is a division of the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry. Whereas Mr. Beeks served as Center Director of Gamble Center, he initiated new levels of participation by starting a bus drivers basketball league, and it was a unique concept for bus drivers to have a basketball league during their downtime after dropping children off and picking them back up. Mr. Beeks was known for his timeliness, leadership, and attention to detail. In Southside Wellness Center, the water exercise program was enthusiastically supported by Mr. Beeks, and the Southside Wellness program will miss him greatly. Mr. Beeks moved up the recreation ladder to become the area recreation manager and then director of the aquatics program for the city of St. Louis. The aquatics program was strengthened, streamlined, and upgraded under Mr. Beeks' leadership. Mr. Beeks again has done wonderful things for our city. Now therefore it be resolved that the Board of Aldermen for the city of St. Louis, we pause in our deliberations to recognize Mr. Beeks for his many accomplishments. We thank him for his dedication and contribution to our city of St. Louis, and we applaud him for his efforts and 23 years of service. It's my pleasure on behalf of the Board of Aldermen to present this resolution to Mr. Beeks to thank him for his many years of service. Let us give him a round of applause.
I just want to say I've enjoyed serving the citizens of St. Louis, and everybody in here should come and enjoy our wonderful 7 swimming pools. Thank you.
Mr. Beeks is obviously a man of few words, and he gets the job done. I tell you what, we cannot thank you enough for your many years of service, but you know we're not going to just let you retire and go on. We're going to keep you busy on all kinds of other stuff, so I warn you not to pick up our phone calls. But congratulations, and we wish you much, much enjoyment, luck in your retirement.
Good morning. On behalf of the Southside Senior Citizen Center and the senior citizens throughout the city of St. Louis, we have certainly enjoyed working with Mr. Beeks and the swimming pool. You know, wasn't too long I testified to make sure that we keep the recreation centers open for the senior citizen. We are there sometime at 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, and Mr. Beeks made it possible for us to go 3 times a week. So while you all are sleeping, we have seniors from 60 to 90 years old, we're in the pool. And I want the Board of Aldermen to continue to support the Recreation Center for the youth in the evening and the seniors in the morning. Thank you.
Alderman from the 19th.
I just had to say a few words because I feel like Josh is a constituent of mine. He takes such good care of our recreation centers. And I know that he has been a part of changing a lot of lives, growing employees to show their best in quality of service on behalf of our residents. And I just applaud him and thank him because he gave us a lot of years to this city. And I've known him long before I became an alderman and knew of his good talents. And I just want to say thank you and have a very happy retirement.
He has also volunteered to work with the children.
Mr. Beeks has also volunteered to work with Chaperone, a group of children from the Shaw neighborhood at the 12th Street Pool on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. So youth, seniors, we thank you.
Alderman from the 19th, would you like to ask that it be passed in bank in a minute? Moved by Alderman from the 19th, seconded by Alderman from the 12th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that change.
So noted.
Resolution number 330 in bank. Alderman from the 12th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Mr. Beeks, I also want to thank you for your contribution and kind work for the
under my wife's uncle, Joe Leisure, when he was Commissioner of Parks, and he's never had a bad word to say about you, at least in front of me. But we do appreciate, I think people underappreciate city employees because, you know, when the work gets done, it's the employees out there. You know, the bosses put the artists out there, but we're the ones that actually do the work. And sometimes we don't get enough credit for it. But I want to thank you personally and hope you enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Alderman from the 4th.
I think 22nd was here before me, but since I'm the senior, I can go ahead.
There you go.
Mr. Beeks, we appreciate you in the Tandy area in the 4th Ward. We're going to miss you because you kept me informed on the things that I needed to know about the Recreation Center, and you served well the people of the 4th Ward, and we're going to miss you, and we thank you so much for your service. Thank you.
Alderman from the 22nd.
Mr. Beeks, I also want to extend congratulations and thank you for all the service you've given to the city of St. Louis. I'm reminded around the time I met you, I have a park, Amherst Park, in the neighborhood, and there were children playing in rainwater during the summer. And I had a young lady decided that, you know, we need to do something for these children. So we connected with Parks and Recreation, and Mr. Beeks was very instrumental in helping us provide the best quality recreation center, not recreation center, but recreational program in a park that had no cover, but the kids needed activities. And he provided that leadership, and it was a wonderful opportunity. We did it for a couple of years, and I just want to appreciate you and thank you for your leadership. God bless you.
Alderman from the 1st.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I have two distinguished honored guests here, exceeded only by Tom Villa. One of them is Tom George, from ex-legislator for the state of Missouri, one of the most traveled legislators in the history of the state of Missouri. And to my right, we have Senator Timmy Green, who is also with the electricians that are providing breakfast for us today. Senator Green is like a mentee. He became the budget chair of the state of Missouri and did a lot of good. And then I'll have to, in that context, recognize Senator Kennedy, the ex-senator from the 3rd. I ask the House to welcome both of these, the current senator and ex-legislative, and thank them for our breakfast.
Any further discussion? The Alderman from the 22nd would like to approach the dais for resolution number 332.
Good morning. Those of you who know a little bit about my resume, you will find that I am a proud product of St. Louis Public Schools. And today it gives me great pleasure to honor one of our St. Louis Public Schools. Those who haven't heard, Soldan has an incredible male basketball team, and that's why we're here to celebrate. And when I thought about what could have possibly taken them to the championship, I thought about 3 traits, and I think the captain of the team might agree with me. I thought about discipline, I thought about focus, I thought about perseverance, and I thought about incredible leadership from the coaching staff. And I want to encourage the basketball team in understanding those traits. Use those traits, the same character traits that you used on the basketball court, for your life. Because life is going to be very challenging once you graduate from high school. But if you remain grounded, as you have, to persevere as state champions, you can use those same tools to further yourself in life. And so without further ado, I want to read a resolution honoring these fine young men. Whereas, we are honored to pause in our deliberations to recognize the state champion Soldan Tigers basketball team, and whereas the Soldan Tigers boys basketball team won the Missouri Class 4 basketball championship on March 10th at the Mizzou area in Columbia. The Tigers captured the state championship with a 55-42 victory over the Hillcrest High School. And whereas this was the Soldan Tigers' first state basketball championship in 31 years. This was their third consecutive trip, however, to the state Final Four. Whereas senior players are Pete Sanders, Kawan Griffin, Paul McRoberts, Randy Holmes, Rashad Simmons, Aaron Delamy, Elba Shelton, Devin Booker, Jabril Muhammad, and the junior team members are Termaine Delamy, Cedric Kemple, and Cameron Williams. Team managers are Asia Brewer and Alexis Smith. The Tigers are led by head coach Justin Tatum and assistant coaches Ryan Johnson and Chris Pelch. And whereas the Soldan Tigers posted a record 25-5 during the 2011-12 season, the Tigers were Public High School League champions for the third consecutive year and District 5 champions. And whereas the Tigers' leading scorer was Randy Holmes, 366 points. Second leading scorer was Paul McRoberts, 349 points. And the leading scorer was Pete Sanders. The third leading scorer, was Pete Sanders, 262 points. And whereas team captains were Pete Sanders and Aaron Delamy, and whereas Tigers were 73-17 in the past 4 years under Coach Tatum. Now therefore be it resolved by the St. Louis Board of Aldermen that we pause now deliberations to recognize the 2011-12 Soldan Tigers basketball team, and we further direct the clerk of this board to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of these proceedings and to prepare a commemorative copy to the end that it may be presented to our honorees at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor, Jeffrey Boyd, and the entire Board of Aldermen. Congratulations, Soldan Tigers basketball team. And who I have standing with me, because the whole team couldn't show up today, we have Rashad, and you can raise your hands when I call your name, Rashad Simmons, Elba Shelton, Jabril Muhammad, Devin Booker, Cameron Williams, Cedric Kemple, Kawan Griffins, Paul McRoberts, Randy Holmes, Coach Chris Pelch, and none of this could be possible without the leadership of the principal, Dr. Thomas Cason. And I'm going to ask at this time, I'll ask Dr. Cason for some remarks.
First of all, I would like to, thank everyone here in attendance. I would like to thank Alderman Jeffrey Boyd. I would like to thank the Aldermanic President, Mr. Lewis Reed, and the entire Aldermanic Council. I am really proud. This is a proud day for the staff, students, and parents of Soldan International Studies High School. We are really honored to have such a great group of young men, such as these guys. Not only are they excellent in terms of athleticism, in terms of the basketball court, but they also are good citizens within the school, and they're also good academians. So on behalf of, again, all of us, I would like to wish the coaches and this fine group of young men the best of luck in the future. Thank you.
Coach, would you come forward?
Thank you, guys. I just want to say that our players had a tremendous season, obviously, with a great capstone. They went through a ton of adversity throughout the year, really challenged themselves, which a lot of teams from the city sometimes don't always do. They took on teams from Chicago, Louisiana, went down to Tennessee for a showcase tournament, so they really challenged themselves, and despite those bumps in the road, overcame the adversity, got to the Final Four again, and this time we're able to take home a championship to Soldan, with a school with great tradition, and to SLPS, a district that definitely, I'm sure, appreciates their hard work. So these guys are great gentlemen, and we appreciate having them, and it was a pleasure working with all of them. So thank you.
And we would not be complete unless we heard from one of the students and the captain of the team, Paul McRoberts.
Good morning, and Paul McRoberts. As we all know, it takes hard work to be a champion or to be anything you want to do. But I think as a captain, coming into this season, it was like I knew our team chemistry was already there, but it takes hard work at practice and determination and just wanting to win with confidence. And as a team, we got that done this year. Being down at state the last 2 years, making it 3 this year, we already had a mindset of just, we know what to do, go in there and take care of business. And Coach pushed us every day at practice, and we just had fun with it. It wasn't like a big chip on our shoulder. We just went in hungry and just wanted it more than everybody else. I appreciate my team, and I love these guys behind me.
And I know the president want to make a few remarks, but before I get out of your way, I want to say that these gentlemen have made me double proud. And why do I say that? I say that because, as Alderwoman Carol Howard knows, that my daughter Brittany is a senior at Soldan, so she is certainly proud, and I'm happy for her as well as the team. Thank you so much, Soldan.
Alderwoman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. First, let me say hello to Dr. Kaysen. When he came to Soldan High School as the principal, it was a challenged school. I have to thank him publicly because, young men, you don't know what he has done for you to have the opportunities that you're having now. I appreciate what you've done in the basketball court, but I even appreciate more the studies that you have. You are an international baccalaureate accredited school, which means more than most people know. It means more than being at any private school in this city. It means more than most people understand when it comes to the curriculum that is required of you. So for you to challenge yourself and do both well, you're well on your way. Thank you, Dr. Kaysen. Thank you, students.
Alderwoman from the 14th.
Hello, Dr. Kaysen, former colleague of yours. And I would like to recognize, I think some of the basketball players are former students of Bunch International Studies. I'm glad to see that they're doing well, and I look forward to greater things for them as they move forward in their school career, their academic career, as well as their basketball playing into college, and hope they add more to Soldan than they've already done. I'm sure they will as good citizens and basketball players. Thank you, guys.
Alderwoman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I would like to just applaud the men from Soldan for representing class and poise. We know that as a former basketball player, there are a lot of life skills that you learn from playing the game of basketball. And I just wish you nothing but success in life, and thank you for your leadership that you exhibit on the court and off the court for others to see. Thank you.
Any further? Alderman from the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I also would like to congratulate my former alma mater, went to Soldan, graduated in '74, and appreciate the leadership that you're doing, Doctor, there. And I'll see Alderman Boyd after the meeting because it should have been my resolution, but that's okay. I know he has a daughter that goes there. So nevertheless, congratulations, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good luck.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? I also want to just say thanks to Dr. Kaysen and the coach and also the players for a job well done. I mean, what they've achieved here, this will carry on throughout their entire lives. It's a great day for the city of St. Louis as a whole. It's a great day for the school, the other students within the school. But these guys will carry this with them for the rest of their lives, and it will shape a lot of their futures. So I cannot thank the doctor and also the coach for a job well done. The players, you guys did it. And you know what I like most about what the team captain said? He said that when they started, it was great chemistry, and he knew based on that chemistry that there was something special going on. And to hear that from a young guy like this, that is amazing, because a lot of that kind of wisdom comes much later in life, but these guys possess it now. So let's give them one more round of applause for a job well done. while they're lining up for pictures, man, these guys are tall. These guys are tall. I used to think I was a big guy in high school, but standing next to these guys, I was a tiny guy. It's the other game face on. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. That we return to our regular order of business. Introduction round of guests. Any introduction round? Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, I'd like to have as my special guest today from the Electrical Workers Local 1. We've got the President, Tom Green, with us, Senator Tim Green with us, Representative Sylvester Taylor, Business Agent Tim Murray, and Officer Greg Schwartz. I'd also like to welcome Firefighter Al from Local 73, Celeste Reeder from the Realtors, and Steve Speck from the Communication Workers of America.
Did you get what's that? Alderman from the 6th.
Mr. President, members of the board, I would like to have as my special guest Ms. Cheryl Bond, who is Executive Director of the Downtown and Marquette YMCA. She's being escorted here today by our 6th Ward Development Specialist, Mr. Lester Green. Cheryl is very excited about being here with us this morning, and I'm sure she will be looking to speak to many of you to talk about the YMCA's Youth and Government Leadership Program. Thank you.
Alderman from the 14th.
I'd like to have today as my special guest Howard Hayes, Director Minority Business Development with SLDC, and he is here to promote the 2012 St. Louis Opportunities in Franchising Seminar for Minorities and Women.
Any further? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'd like to have as my special guest today the Amron UE family, AT&T. And my ward hero today is Miss Carrie Brown, and my alderperson of the day is Miss Dion Flowers of the 2nd Ward. Thank you.
Alderman from the 16th. I love the green too.
Top of the morning to you. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would like to have as my special guests today David Holmes with the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters and Steve Spreck with the Communications Workers.
Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have for my honored guest today, Ronnie Auer, who's in the leisure room.
All right, excellent. Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'm taking a special privilege, if you don't mind, even though I'm not welcoming someone who is in the chambers today, but I would like to welcome someone to our city today who is having a discussion currently that is quite I think, important to us and what we do every day. And I'm welcoming Al Sharpton, who is in the city of St. Louis today. He is currently at Harris Stowe State University, and the topic today is voter registration and the rights of those to have the ability to vote without restraints. And on that panel with him as well is the chairman of the Black Congressional Caucus, which is Congressman Cleaver from Kansas City. We also have representatives from New York, New Jersey, and others. But I thought it was important because when I left there this morning, there was standing room only. So as we deliberate in this body, we know how important it is for folks to have their voter rights. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Alderman from the 8th.
I'd like to introduce one of our former colleagues, Melinda Long, Alderwoman from the 21st.
That's it. How you doing? Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Alderman from 13, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve the minutes of the March 2nd meeting.
Moved by the Alderman from the 13th, seconded by the Alderman from the 20th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in sections A, B, and C of the agenda and have been placed in all aldermen's mailboxes. I have from His Honor the Mayor the following correspondence. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Kingsway Merchants Association, a reappointment of Kevin Bryant, who resides at 4930 Evelyn Nair, and whose term will expire on January the 1st, 2013. The appointment of Priya Johnson, who resides at 1408 North Kings Highway, and whose term will expire on January the 1st, 2013. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the mayor's appointments to the Kings Highway Merchant Association. I was looking at your spot over there.
Yes, sir. I'm over here, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move for approval of the mayor's appointments to the Kingsway Merchants Association.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th. I entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 27th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for a reappointment to the St. Louis Convention Center Hotel Community Improvement District. The reappointment of Laura Robinson, who resides at 1928 Fox Point Drive, and whose term will expire on February the 16th, 2016. The reappointment of Linda Krul, who resides at 1111 Winter Park Drive, and whose term will expire on February 16, 2016. The reappointment of Brian Krippner, who resides at 9633 Crumay Court, and whose term will expire on February 16, 2016. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 7th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the St. Louis Convention Center Hotel Community Improvement District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I would move for approval of these appointees.
Moved by the Alderman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 22nd. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Preservation Board. The reappointment of David Richardson, who resides at 2323 Whitmore Place, and whose term will expire on July the 9th, 2016. The appointment of Nate Johnson, who resides at 5774 Pershing, and whose term will expire on July 9th, 2016. The appointment of Aaron Wright, who resides at 4423 Gibson, and whose term will expire on July the 9th, 2016. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Francis G. Slay, Mayor, City of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 27th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the Preservation Board.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we accept the mayor's appointments on the Preservation Board.
Moved by the Alderman from the 27th, entertain a second. Seconded by the Alderman from the 20th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.
That's the extent of report of city officials.
Dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? We dispense with line items 8 through 9, 8 through 10. First reading of board bills.
We have none.
Reference to committee.
We have none.
Second reading.
Following board bills will report out of the Public Safety Committee. Board Bill 270, Committee Substitute, sponsored by Aldermen and Alderwomen. Alderman Schmidt, Conway, Ortman, Howard, Florida, Behringer, Cone, and Cruzen. An ordinance pertaining to Fireman's Retirement System, discontinuing the accrual of benefits under the Fireman's Retirement System and repealing in its entirety Chapter 4.18 of the Revised Code 1994 edition. Board Bill 271 was not...
Not 271.
Board
Just
Bill,
270.
Board Bill 270, that's the extent of our second, 270 committee substitute. That's the extent of our second reading.
We dispense with line item 14, perfection consent calendar.
Board Bill 271, sponsored by Alderman Bosley, and an ordinance pertaining to New Jerusalem Church of God in Christ at the cathedral located at 47 East Grand, having as a subject matter the designation of the property as a St. Louis landmark, containing definition, design standards, accessibility, and emergency clause. Board Bill 244, sponsored by Alderman Bosley, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service authorizing the 2012 St. Louis Works and 50/50 Sidewalk Program citywide, containing the mayor's executive orders, contract advertising statutes, and a public work emergency clause. Board Bill 279, sponsored by Alderman Bosley, and an ordinance authorizing and directing the street commissioner to take all necessary actions to honorarily designate 3100 block of North Garrison as Reverend Theodore V. Foster Senior Street. Board Bill 265, sponsored by Alderwoman Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission to change the zoning of property from G local commercial and office district to D multiple family dwelling district in City Block 1111 for property at 1455 Monroe, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 267, sponsored by Alderman Vaccaro, and an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission to change the zoning of property from A single family dwelling district in the F neighborhood commercial district to the F neighborhood commercial district only in City Block 6260 for property at 5833 through 75 Chippewa, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 288, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, and an ordinance designating a portion of the city as a redevelopment area known as 2727 Washington Redevelopment Area pursuant to the Real Property Tax Increment Allocation Redevelopment Act, establishing the 2727 Washington Special Allocation Funds containing a severability clause. Board Bill 289, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, and an ordinance affirming adoption of a redevelopment plan, redevelopment area, redevelopment project, authorizing the execution of a redevelopment agreement between the city and 4900 Manchester TIF Incorporated, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 290, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, and an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the issuance and delivery of not to exceed $450,000 plus issuance cost principal amount of tax increment revenue notes for 2727 Washington Redevelopment Project, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 300, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to vacate a portion of the air rights over 6.5 feet wide portion of the Olive Street adjacent to 3651 Olive Street in City Block 2287. Board Bill 285, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, and ordinance pertaining to valet parking, recommended and approved by the Parking Commission, providing a mechanism for the creation of valet parking zone permits, authorizing the city to enter into the intergovernmental agreement with the Metropolitan Tax Commission to provide for certain administrative and investigatory functions, authorizing the Director of Streets to charge certain fees containing penalty provisions and a severability clause. Board Bill 295, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, and ordinance affirming adoption of redevelopment plan, redevelopment area, redevelopment project, amending ordinance 68971 and 67681, authorizing the execution of a redevelopment agreement between the city and St. Louis Food Hub TIF, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 296, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, amending ordinance 67678 and 68972, authorizing and directing the issuance and delivery of not to exceed $10,200,000 plus issuance cost maximum principal amount of tax increment revenue notes for City Hospital RPA 3 redevelopment project phase 2A. Board Bill 297, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, and ordinance affirming adoption of a redevelopment plan, redevelopment area, redevelopment project area, and redevelopment project, authorizing the execution of a redevelopment agreement between the city and St. Louis Food Hub TIF, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 298, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, and ordinance approving an amendment to the City Hospital TIF redevelopment plan pursuant to Real Property Tax Increment Allocation Redevelopment Act, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 299, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the issuance and delivery of not to exceed $2,400,000 plus issuance cost maximum principal amount of tax increment revenue notes for City Hospital RPA 2 redevelopment project phase 2B-1, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 30, sponsored by Alderman Schmidt, Cruzen, Florida, and Cone, an ordinance relating to excess payments designated by any person, firm, or corporation on any water bill, personal property tax bill, real estate tax bill, or other bill in the city which is designated by ordinance for a city asset services provided by the city for a nonprofit entity, minimum amount required annually for nonprofit agencies, maximum number of nonprofit agencies, and disposition of designated excess payments. Board Bill 245, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and the comptroller to execute upon receipt of and in consideration a sum of $15,000 and other good and valuable consideration, a quitclaim deed to remise, release, and forever quitclaim to Volpe Foods, certain city-owned property located in City Block 3998-D, known and numbered as 5151 Northrop. Board Bill 281, sponsored by Alderwoman Triplett, an ordinance approving a petition to establish 1601 South Jefferson Community Improvement District, establishing the 1601 South Jefferson Community Improvement District. Board Bill 80, committee substitute, sponsored by Alderwoman Triplett and Alderwoman Young, an ordinance pertaining to Lafayette Park, providing that in addition to revenues derived from those sources specified in section 5.74.060 of the revised code, revenues derived from sources in Lafayette Park specified by this ordinance shall be held in the Lafayette Park Fund. Board Bill 294, committee substitute, sponsored by Alderwoman Flowers, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental cooperation agreement between the City and Parking Commission and the North Broadway Cary Transportation Development District, containing a severability and an emergency clause. Board Bill 224, sponsored by Alderman Ogilvy, Villa, Behringer, and Vaccaro, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service authorizing and directing the execution of a cooperation agreement between the city by and through the Board of Public Service and the Metropolitan Park and Recreation District, doing business as the Great Rivers Greenway District, containing a severability and an emergency clause. Board Bill 273, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in a 15-foot wide L-shaped alley in City Block 5234, beginning at Clayton and ending at Taylor, same bounded by Clayton, Taylor, Interstate 64, and Euclid. Board Bill 291, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and the comptroller to execute upon receipt of and in good consideration a sum of $10, a termination and release of easement to cancel and terminate an easement over certain privately owned property located in City Block 3946, commonly known as 3946 Papin Street. That's the extent of perfection consent.
Alderman from the 13th, you recognize on the motion for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that Board Bill 265 be removed from the perfection consent calendar and placed on the perfection calendar.
Madam Clerk, please make a note of that change, and also Board Bill number 281.
And 281 as well.
So noted.
All right, with those changes, you're recognized to proceed, Alderman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Board, I move for perfection of the aforementioned bills on the consent calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 13th, seconded by the Alderman from the 23rd. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
Board Bill 265, sponsored by Alderwoman Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission to change the zoning of property from G Local Commercial and Office District to D Multiple Family Dwelling District in City Block 1111 for property at 1455 Monroe, containing an emergency clause.
Alderwoman from the 5th, you're recognized on the perfection of Board Bill number 265.
Yes, I would like to move for perfection of Board Bill 265.
Moved by the Alderwoman from the 5th, seconded by the Alderman from the 20th. Any further discussion, Alderwoman?
I just believe that it would be an asset to the residents of the 5th Ward if we move forward with the proposed zoning changes so that they can enhance their well-being and the nature of their business regarding their home.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we pass Board Bill number, that we perfect. Alderman from the 13th, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. This bill was in the HUD's committee, and I just question whether or not we should take a step like this at this time without further consideration. This would move the zoning from G Local Commercial to D Multiple Family. I think a move like this should be done only with with serious consideration, and we might be better off killing the bill for this session and then rehearing it next session when we have more time to devote to consideration of it.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 5th.
I would just like to add that with the zoning changes that are in place, it would actually be more restrictive, and it would coincide with the plans that are currently in place for the development of this project.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we perfect Board Bill number 265. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Troop. Alderwoman Flowers. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Triplett. Alderwoman Young. Alderman Conway. Alderman Ortman. Alderman Vollmer. Alderman Villa. Couldn't get it out. Couldn't get it out. Alderman Villa. Alderman Ornowitz. Alderman Wessels. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Florida. Alderwoman Behringer. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Schmidt. Alderman French. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvie. Alderman Cone. No. Alderman Williamson. No. Alderman Carter. No. Alderwoman Cruzen. President Reed.
No.
Alderman Rhodey. Alderman French. Alderman Boyd. Two aye votes, 23 no votes, 1 present.
By your vote, you failed to sustain the motion on Alderman from the 5th and failed to perfect Board Bill number 265. Alderman from the 27th, you're recognized.
President, after voting on the prevailing side, I move for reconsideration of Board Bill 265.
Moved by the Alderman from the 27th.
We feel sorry for you.
Yeah, seconded by nearly everyone, the 20th and everyone else. But Madam Clerk, please make note of the Alderman from the 20th with the second. It's been moved and seconded that we reconsider the previous vote for Board Bill number 265. And there's been a request for previous roll. Hearing numerous objections to previous roll, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Troop. Alderwoman Flowers. Alderman Bosley. I didn't hear you. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Triplett. Alderwoman Young. Alderman Conway. Alderman Ortman. Alderman Vollmer. Alderman Villa. Alderman Arnowitz. Alderman Wessels. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Florida. Alderwoman Behringer. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Schmidt. Alderman French. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvie. Alderman Cone. Alderman Williamson. Alderman Carter. Alderwoman Cruzen. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Rhodey. Alderwoman Cruzen. 27 aye votes.
By your vote, you move to reconsider. Alderwoman, we have one more step. Let's try this again. Alderwoman from the 5th, you're now recognized on the perfection of Board Bill number 265.
I move for perfection of Board Bill 265.
Moved by the Alderman from the 5th, seconded by the Alderman from the 24th. There's been a request for previous roll. Hearing no objection, motion carries. Alderwoman, welcome to the Board of Aldermen. None of us get out of here without at least one loss. So we like the first one to be somewhat enjoyable because the second one may be a little more gut-wrenching. So welcome to the Board of Aldermen, and congratulations on moving your first bill through perfection.
Board Bill 281, sponsored by Alderwoman Triplett, an ordinance approving the petition to establish the 1601 South Jefferson Community Improvement District, establishing the 1601 South Jefferson Community Improvement District.
Alderwoman from the 6th, you recognize on the perfection of Board Bill number 281.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the board. I move for perfection of Board Bill 281.
Moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderman from the 26th. Please proceed, Alderwoman.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. Board Bill 281 is an exciting piece of legislation that affects the 6th Ward, but it also affects the entire city of St. Louis. I'm sure as you remember when you served as alderman of the 6th Ward, there was a lot of concern about the lack of a quality grocery store in the area. For the past 8 years, there's been a property that has sat at a very prominent intersection in the 6th Ward at Highway 44 in Jefferson. At one time, there was a grocery store, but it went vacant. And the area has been deemed a national food desert by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We are very excited that Green Street Properties, which is a prominent development company in the area, has taken an interest in this site. And they are moving forward very quickly to bring a grocery store and some other retail components to this area. The community has certainly been very patient in expressing their desire for a grocery store to come to the area, and the time has finally come. The season is here for us to have a quality grocery store in the community. What Board Bill 281 does is it creates a community improvement district for the area where additional sales tax will be set aside to promote security and also beautification for this project. This is a project that we want 6th Ward residents to enjoy, but also the entire city to enjoy as well. This will be a state-of-the-art development project that is taking place at this intersection. We're looking to have a grocery store that will be solar powered. There'll be solar roofs, and this is a project that comes on the heels of another successful project in the 6th Ward at the intersection of Shoto and Jefferson, where the same developer has created a new headquarters for the sheet metal workers and also for a biotech company, Dynalabs. This development company, they specialize in reusing old dilapidated buildings and bringing new life to them, sustainable, green, and efficient. So that's what we are looking forward here in the 6th Ward. I'm proud to sponsor this legislation, and we are looking to come up within a companion bill which will lay out the agreement between the developer, where they will also be required to help with the beautification along the streetscape along Jefferson. So for the next 40 years, they'll be required to make sure that they maintain those medians as well. So this is a great partnership between the City of St. Louis and the development company, and it's a great big win for not only the residents of the 6th Ward, but for the entire City of St. Louis. And with that, I renew my motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we perfect Board Bill number 281. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
That's the extent of board bills for perfection.
Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize.
President, members of the board, I move to suspend the rules for the purpose of placing the following board bills on third reading consent calendar. Board Bill 261, 244, 279, 265, 267, 288, 289, 300, 285, 295, 297, 298, Board Bill 30, 245, 281, Board Bill 80 Committee Substitute, 249 Committee Substitute, 224, 273, and Board Bill 291.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd. I entertain a second on the motion.
Which one?
Seconded by the Alderman from the 26th. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Troop, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Triplett, Alderwoman Young, Alderman Conway, Alderman Ortman, Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Villa, Alderman Arnowitz, Alderman Wessels, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Florida, Alderwoman Behringer, Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Kennedy, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman French, Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Ogilvy, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, President Reed, Alderwoman Howard, Alderman Rhodey, Alderwoman Cruzen, 27 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion of the Alderman from the 22nd and move the aforementioned bills to the third reading consent calendar. Third reading consent.
Board Bills 261, 244, 279, 265, 267, 288, 289, 300, 285, 295, 297, 298, 30, 245, 281, 80 Committee Substitute, 294 Committee Substitute, 224, 273, 291, and $204 Committee Substitute, 210, 229, 230, 257, 272, 238, 255, 256, 262, 268, 269, 274, 275, and 276.
Alderman from the 13th, you recognize on the third reading and final passage of the aforementioned bills.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move for third reading and final passage of the aforementioned bills on the consent calendar.
Moved by Alderman from the 13th, seconded by Alderman from the 27th. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll. There's been a request for previous roll. Wait a minute. Not sure if I did a voice vote. There's been a request for previous roll. Hearing no objection. Motion carries. Your third read and finally passed the aforementioned bills. Report of Enrollment Committee.
Board Bills 261, 244, 279, 265, 267, 288, 289, 300, 385, 295, 285, 295, 297, 298, 30, 245, 281, 80 Committee Substitute, 294 Committee Substitute, 224, 273, 291, 204 Committee Substitute, 210, 229, 230, 257, 272, 238, 255, 256, 262, 268, 269, 274, 275, and 276.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. before we continue on, I'll ask everybody, I would love to ask everyone if you can all join me for a moment of silence for Alderman Joe Rohde's mother who had passed away. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you get an opportunity to, please reach out to him. She lived to be 95 years old, so that's a blessing in and of itself. But dispense with line item 2122, miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
There will be no Friday board meeting. We're on spring break. That's the extent of my announcements.
Alderman from the 24th.
Welcome the thousands of people that will be coming to Dogtown tomorrow, and also ask them if you wouldn't do it in your own front yard.
Don't do it. Very well put, Alderman from the 22nd.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to introduce as my honored guest today, Miss Maggie Parker. Miss Parker is a Coro Fellow, and she will be with me for 3 weeks. And I like to say, although I think I'm pretty technologically savvy, I have a deficit when it comes to Facebook and Twitter. So she's going to help me become more sophisticated with that. Thank you.
Good. After she finished, you help the rest of us also. Alderman from the 8th.
I had one announcement. I don't know if the alderman from Dogtown knows where the key to the city is for Dogtown. They haven't told him yet.
Alderman from the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. President. As an announcement for tomorrow, we have our 27th Ward meeting at 10 a.m. at Bishop Willie Ellis Conference Center at 5939 Goodfellow. It starts sharp at 10 a.m., so be on time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I wanted to say thank you to Powell Symphony Hall. They have been providing free concerts to our community, and as much as we try to fill up the hall, it's impossible. So I'm going to continue to say it. I'm going to continue to encourage people to come. But this past Wednesday, it was we had a representative from Alabama in. And his name was Demondre Thurman. And Mr. Thurman plays the euphonium. And most of us know it in the band as the baritone. But along with that, he also provided an opportunity to play along. So students were invited from all the schools in the city, in the metropolitan area. We had about 45 there. They took instruction from him. It was fabulous, but the music was incredible. So I want to remind everybody that we're doing good things, and I thank the Symphony for providing these free concerts. This is their 3rd one.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. On Thursday, the 29th of this month, Thursday, at 6 p.m. at Tandy Park, at Tandy Community Center, 4201 West Kennerly, I will have a meeting. We will have a town hall meeting for all the new residents of the 4th Ward that were brought in through redistricting at 6 p.m. Thursday the 29th at Tandy Park. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Alderman from the 22nd.
Yes, one last thing, Mr. President, members of the board. If you get a chance, say hello to Miss Tina Johnson. Her birthday is today, our secretary.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? I also want to just say really thanks to the chairman of the Public Safety Committee and all the members of the Public Safety Committee. I know you guys have been working long and hard, and also Alderman Schmidt on that board bill, and it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy topic to take on and look at, and almost no matter what you do on it, it's going to be tough. But I really, really, want to thank you guys for all the hard work. It has not been easy for anybody, but thanks for the work that you guys have done on it. You guys deserve a round of applause for, taking on the task and working through all of these issues. Alderman from 13, you recognize on motion to excuse.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to excuse the alderman from the 17th and 28th wards due to necessary absence.
It's been moved by the Alderman from 13th, and I entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 18th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman from the 13th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adjourn the meeting until April 16th, 2011.
Moved by the Alderman from the 13th, seconded by the Alderman from the 20th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.